Every transfer window, football fans and the rest of the footballing world are fixated on all the transfers going on. Whether it's carefully watching and analyzing the incomings and outgoings of their club or their rivals, or of just star players, the footballing world is obsessed with transfers and rumors, and for good reason. One good or bad transfer can change the course of your club's history, change the trajectory of your club for the next 10 years. So, in today's video, I'll be giving you guys my top 10 transfers of the summer around Europe. So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Back of the Net here. I hope you're all doing well. Now, quick disclaimer. I'm not a football genius. I'm simply a fan of football given my opinion. Of course, your opinion may differ, and that's perfectly okay. If you disagree with any of my rankings, let me know in the comments what you'd have different. Sound good? Alright, cool, let's get on with the video. So now for this top 10 ranking, there's quite a few things that I've looked at and taken into consideration. First, obviously, the price that was paid for them. Second thing is the youth and how much they can actually have an impact on the club. And the third thing may be a little reactionary, but it's kind of what they've shown already since being at the club. Of course, if they've had quite a bad early performance from the club, but on paper they still look like a decent signing, then they may still be in this list. Now, I am an Arsenal fan, let me just say that early, but I have done this list, I think, with the least biasness possible. Let me know if you guys agree with that, because I do try and be unbiased when it comes to things like this. So, now obviously, because it's only 10 players that I can choose to be in the top 10, quite a lot of players didn't make the cut. And for that reason, I'm going to mention them as an honorable mention before we get onto the actual list. Arda Güler, Mateo Kovacic, Kudos, Pulisic, Tonali, Hudson-Odoi, and Ward-Prowse. All are honorable mentions, but just couldn't fit them in the list because I think everyone above them is a slightly better signing. In 10th place, I have Marcus Thuram from Borussia Mönchengladbach, who went to Inter Milan on a free transfer. Now, with the signing of Marcus Thuram, I really think he's an impressive signing for Inter Milan. He comes from Borussia Mönchengladbach for free, and he was cooking in the Bundesliga. He had 56 goals and assists in 111 games, which doesn't sound that good, but it's 0.5 goal assist to game ratio. I think it's really good what he can bring to the Inter team. He'll be now with Lautaro Martinez up front. It's going to be scary for a lot of teams. I really like to sign a lot. I think it's going to be very good for Marcus Thuram. Should push him further and maybe solidify his spot in the French national team if he can do well with Inter. And of course, it now gives Inter that space that they were missing. You know, Lukaku was so good for them. And yes, Thuram is not the same player as Lukaku. Thuram could probably play more of a winger position, but what Thuram brings and how clinical he is in front of goal really shores up that position up front. And him and Lautaro Martinez, the speed they're going to have, the excellent finishing they're going to have together, if they can keep working together well as a unit, I really think sky's the limit for this front two, I guess. Yeah, I really like to sign. I think 10th is more than good enough. I think he easily comes into this list. I thought in the beginning when I was writing the list, I thought Thuram was probably going to be higher than 10th, but the transfers I have ahead of him, some of them are just really staggering. So, you know, I think 10th is fair enough for Marcus Thuram. I believe he just scored a goal now as well in the Champions League. So, Marcus Thuram 10th. Now, the next player on this list is basically just the reverse of what Marcus Thuram did, being that this player has gone from the Serie A to the Bundesliga. And for me, that is Min-jae to Bayern Munich, signed from Napoli for around 50 million euros. To be honest, I understand some people think it's a little bit too much for a player who essentially just became really good last season in Napoli, but I mean, his meteoric rise in the world of football is nothing short of astonishing. You can't deny that. From being relatively unknown while playing in China in 2021, he's now swiftly transformed into one of the premier central defenders globally. He's one of the best for sure. His pivotal role in Napoli's historic title win last season, I think, cannot be understated as well. Look, he's just 26 years old, exceptional athleticism. He really has a good footballing IQ, and under Thomas Tuchel, you expect him to prove more than good enough than 50 million euros. I really like the sign of Min-jae. Hopefully, for Bayern's sake anyway, he can be their new anchor of their defense. I think when they got Süle from, was it Hoffenheim at the time, they thought he would be that anchor, but it just hasn't worked out. He's now at Dortmund, but I think Min-jae has all the capabilities, both physically and intellectually, to be a star at Bayern Munich. So I think Min-jae 9th. Now in the 8th position, maybe I'm biased, maybe I'm not, but it's Arsenal's record signing, Declan Rice. So Declan Rice come to Arsenal, signing from West Ham for around £100 million. And yes, I know that is a lot of money. But one thing you can't deny about Declan Rice is he is a world-class player, world-class CDM. For me, world-class is a top 5, so if he's probably in that top 5 CDM debate. Look, let's just get this right. This is a game-changing move for Arsenal. It sends a clear message to the footballing world. They secured his services over Man City, over Bayern Munich, who are both fiending for him. And I know it's a lot of money. I know that. But I do want to say, I'm not trying to hate on anyone or any team. But one thing about Declan Rice, right, is he's cheaper than Caicedo, more proven in the Premier League. And Caicedo realistically had 1.5 good years in the Premier League. Declan Rice has been good since he joined the Premier League. He left West Ham on a perfect note by winning the Conference League. And he's now coming to Arsenal. And so far, he's looked world class. And yes, I know I sound very biased right now, but go watch Declan Rice. He is an elite CDM. I think 8th for him is a good position. Maybe a lot of more bias would have pushed him up, but I'm really trying to be unbiased. I think 8th is a good position for Declan Rice. Again, I know it's a lot of money, but like I said, I think what he can deliver for the team, it will be well worth it. Declan Rice, number 8. Now, 7th on the list, maybe a bit controversial. You guys might not agree with it, but I think if you stand back and look at it, 7th is fine for him. Lionel Messi to Inter Milan, signed for free from PSG. Now, I know it's not in Europe, but he's leaving Europe, so I'm including this in the list. I don't know, sue me. Listen, I think what he's going to do for football in America, or soccer as they like to call it in America, I think cannot be overshadowed. It is huge for them. It's huge to grow the game, and we love the game, and more good players that we have in the game, the better. And hopefully the Americans can start producing some better players, and not just the LeBron James or Soccer and Pulisic. Like I said, they got him for free. That is a huge thing. Any team around Europe would have loved to take Messi for free, especially Barcelona, who couldn't get him because, I mean, that's a whole nother story. But I do think it's a really good transfer if you look back at it. Now, I know a lot of you guys are thinking, it's just the MLS. Like I said, I still think Lionel Messi for free, regardless of what league you play for, what league he plays in, I think it's a really good move for the club. Huge for the club. Inter Miami is huge now. I think their club worth has gone up by 50% or 100%, whatever the stat was, I can't remember. It is crazy what he's done for the club. It's crazy what he's done for the sport in that country. Lionel Messi, number 7. Now I'm going to 6th on the list. He is a baller, this guy. Moussa Diaby from Bayer Leverkusen to Aston Villa. What a signing for Aston Villa. Moussa Diaby's been a really good player for quite a long time. He did quite well in the Bundesliga, but boy oh boy is he doing so well for the Villains. Look, a lot of people didn't really know Moussa Diaby's game when he came to Aston Villa, but I'm sure they all now know it. Really good player, very technical, very quick, good finisher, surprisingly good finisher. I think when I watched him when he was playing for Bayer Leverkusen, the one thing that stood out for me is his finishing wasn't elite. Everything else was really good, his finishing wasn't elite, but so far for Villa, his finishings look good. He's a game changer for them. He allows them to play a little bit different. Incredible signing for them. Also didn't cost too much. I think it was around the £40 million mark, correct me if I'm wrong there, but I really think Moussa Diaby could have been higher, but like I said, I think there's just some really good players on this list. I think Moussa Diaby 6th place, again, could be pushed higher, but I think that's fair enough. Moussa Diaby 6th. Now 5th on the list, I think is quite expected. Again, another player that could probably be higher. I could be persuaded to be put higher, but for now I'll put him here. 5th, I'm going Dominik Szoboszlai to Liverpool from RB Leipzig for 17 million euros. Now, I remember before he even moved to Leipzig, Arsenal were fiending for him. He is an incredible player. He can play in the 8 position, he can play in the 10, he can be a finisher, he can be a playmaker, he can win the ball, he can just keep the team ticking on. He is an incredible player, technically so good. I mean, if you saw that left foot volley, I forget who it was against, when he scored for Liverpool, what a finish, what a goal. Dominik Szoboszlai, I think, in 10 years' time, could be one of Liverpool's better midfielders in their club history, and that's saying a lot. They've had some really good players, but honestly, I really like Dominik Szoboszlai. When he moved to Leipzig, me as an Arsenal fan, I was quite upset. And now he's at Liverpool. I'm even more upset. Really good signing for Liverpool. They needed to upgrade their midfield. They got guys like McAllister, who also could have been on this list, to be fair. But I really think the sign of Dominik Szoboszlai is incredible business from them. And 70 million euros, again, may be high. But again, in 10 years' time, if he does turn out to be one of the better Liverpool midfielders in history, 70 million ain't nothing. Dominik Szoboszlai, number 5 for me. Now we're really getting into the nitty-gritty. Number 4 was a free sign-in. It was Ilkay Gundogan to Barcelona for free from Manchester City. I mean, need I say more? We know how good Gundogan is, especially in the clutch moments towards the end of the season. How many times has he saved Man City? Incredible player, good leader. He can score goals, he can assist, he can play make, he can play deep, he can play up front in the 10. Really good player. And I think it's not surprising anyone for me to put him this high. Again, he could even be put higher, but I just think the players ahead of him are a little bit better in terms of what they bring for the club. Gundogan has looked good so far for Barca. He hasn't looked as good as he did for City, but this is how Gundogan is. Beginning of the season, he's quite slow, but as the season progresses, he just becomes better and better. He is a world-class player, and I'm just waiting for him to fully prove it with Barcelona. Like I said, not that he's been really bad for Barca, just hasn't been that Man City Gundogan. But I'm almost certain that we'll see that in no time. I think Gundogan at number 4 is a perfect spot for him. Now, number 3 on the list is a player that I don't think many people ever expected for him to leave his club. It is Harry Kane to Bayern Munich from Spurs for 100 million euros. And to be fair, let me say this, I think it suits all 3 parties perfectly. Yes, 3, because Kane, Bayern Munich and Spurs. Spurs sell a player that wanted to leave anyway. They don't sign him to a direct rival in the Premier League. They get 100 million for him. I think it's a win-win for Spurs. And Spurs are looking really good now under Ange. So I think Spurs are happy. Bayern Munich, obviously now they got their next Lewandowski, the player that can help them win trophies. Clinical striker. Elite, number 9. And then Harry Kane, of course, can finally go win that trophy that he's never won still to this day. Very happy for him. Hopefully he does well in Bayern. And I'm an Arsenal fan. I've always loved watching Harry Kane. As bad as that sounds, it's just the truth. Really good player. Again, Bayern Munich have their Robert Lewandowski replacement finally, and he's looking really good already. Not looking as clinical, but again, I think he does need to adjust a little bit to the Bundesliga, and he'll be elite in no time. He was a player that all of us thought was going to break the Premier League record, and he well could have done if he wanted to, but I just think him moving to Bayern is the perfect time now for him. He can now be their face of their club, and he can just be clinical, get their goals. Hopefully for him, they get a trophy in no time, because right now, I think they're playing in one Super Cup and they lost it, so unlucky for him. But hopefully for them and for him, they can get a trophy and he can prove his worth. Now, just to show my unbiasedness, and this one hurts to say, but number 2 could have been number 1. It's James Maddison to Tottenham Hotspur from Leicester City for just £14 million. Do you know how good this price tag looks at the moment? James Maddison is the focal piece of Ange's Tottenham. He is the reason that they're getting goals. He is a creative midfielder. Spurs were dying for creative midfielder for so long. I'm just thinking, if Kane had stayed, how good the Spurs team would be with James Maddison, Son, Kane. Would have been elite. But even then, Richarlison's got a goal. I mean, I don't know how good he's going to look. Son's looking very good. Maddison's a goal-scoring threat that can also get tons and tons of assists. Really good player. No one's ever doubted him. No one's ever thought that he's not that good. I mean, he did so well in a relegated team in Leicester City. But even now, in my opinion, he's exceeded expectations. Was so good in the North London derby, as much as that hurts to say. James Maddison is an elite player. Elite. Like, I don't think Spurs could be happier with it. And again, 40 million, just 40 million is a steal of a price tag for James Maddison. I'm going to put him on the 2 position because I just think this next signing is incredible. Now, the next signing for me, number 1 on my list, the signing of the summer. I'm sure all of you know exactly who it is, as he hasn't been included in this video so far. It's none other than Jude Bellingham to Real Madrid from Borussia Dortmund for 103 million euros. Look, he, for me, is an incredible player. He can play, he is so diverse. He can play in the 6, which is the holding midfield role. He can play in the box-to-box midfield. He can play as a cam. He can be a goal-scoring threat. He can play as a false 9. Elite. From the first minute of him putting on this Real Madrid shirt, he has looked every bit of 103 million and more. Incredible player. Of course, also wearing the number 5. He's just 20 years old and he's made it look easy. Football is too easy for him. He's playing on semi-pro. Too easy for him. Incredible player. He has so many clutch goals already. He's looked so good already. Like, it's not even the goals and the assists that you see. It's when you watch him, the work he does off the ball, how he wins the ball, how he plays the ball, the leader he is on the field. Incredible signing for Real Madrid. And Real Madrid this whole time been focused on Mbappe. And they have their next star in Jude Bellingham. Don't get me wrong, I still think they need Mbappe. But other than that, I really think Jude Bellingham is a perfect signing. He's fitting perfectly to the culture at Real Madrid. Surprisingly, even though he can't speak Spanish, he's looked at home. Elite signing. Jude Bellingham, number 1 on my list, and I think no one can debate that. But that's my list, guys. Let me know if you disagree or what you agree with. Where would you change the rankings? Who do you think doesn't deserve to be on the list? Who do you think does deserve and I haven't included? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.